Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to We've Got Nothing Better to Do, the show where we talk about movies, TV shows, and video games because, well, we've got nothing better to do. I'm your host, Birthday Boy, and this week I am joined by Parker and Jeremy, and that's right, it was my birthday yesterday. So
you're no longer the birthday boy.
It's my special episode. So for this episode, I decided that we should review what is perhaps most likely, it is my favorite movie of all time.
Easily your favorite movie.
The movie that made me want to make movies. But we'll get to that in a little bit. First off, let's start with some news. Starting with movie news. And the first bit of news is that we have the leading lady of the new Pirates of the Caribbean reboot. And it's Margot Robbie. So she is going to star in, and I think is going to be a producer of, which is pretty normal. So she's going to be the new main character, and the writer from Birds of Prey is doing the script of the new Pirates of the Caribbean. So we talked about this before, where the new lead is going to be the character from the ride. I forget, like Captain Anna something. She has like red hair. She wears like a red coat in the ride. If you've been on it, you probably remember her because she's like kind of a big animatronic. Like not like big, but like she stands out. Yeah, so I'm assuming this is the character that she's going to play because that was the rumor. So yeah, Margot Robbie is going to be the new star of the franchise. And I'm okay with that. I like Margot Robbie. She's a good actress.
Because she's hot.
No, that's not why. She's a good actress. I don't even find her that attractive. Yeah, she is attractive, but I'm not like, oh my gosh, Margot Robbie's so hot.
No Billie Eilish.
We don't need to talk about that right now. So, yeah, Margot Robbie is gonna star in the new Pirates of the Caribbean.
I'm all distracted.
Really glad you brought that up, Jeremy.
Hot and bothered,
next,
Jeremy.
all right, stop. Okay, that's enough. That's enough. Okay, this is my show. All right. Okay, next bit of news. Tenet was delayed again.
Who would have known?
Yeah, can I get a re in the chat? So yeah, Tenet got delayed to, I think it was gonna come out the last week of July. It was like the 31st or something like that.
Well, it was gonna be like second week of July. Then they pushed it back.
Yeah, it was the 17th, and then they
July.
Pushed it back. Yeah.
The 30th of July.
So what happens when a bunch of people get COVID?
Yeah, so
Idiots.
17th to 31st, and now it'll be on August 12th.
Stupid.
And apparently, they're only opening it for a single day.
Oh.
Wow.
Which kind of sucks.
Yeah. Imagine getting COVID and ruining it for everyone.
Big rip.
Imagine giving
Imagine someone.
Imagine
idiots.
that.
No,
I lost my train of thought. What was I gonna say? Dang it. Oh, well, at least in California, they put in another like rollback on like stuff being open. So like restaurant dining rooms had to close again. Beaches are closed, stuff like that for 3 weeks.
Rumor has it that all of Idaho's gonna go back to all the way to stage 2.
Yeah, which there's been like murmurs. I've heard the chatter.
Murmurs.
Of it going into 2021, which would suck.
Whoa. Yeah, that would suck. Football season canceled.
I bought tickets to Idaho in December.
Yeah.
I hope the airlines are still going. And I hope they still go into 2021 so I don't get stuck in Idaho.
Yeah, I did hear a little rumor that the football season might get pushed all the way to spring.
Spring football.
Yeah, like all of college football would be in the spring, which would suck. Would suck so bad. It's like 100-degree weather.
Well, spring and fall
but
are
it goes
technically the same.
Yes, but also not really.
I see what you're saying.
Well,
but no.
No, they are. It's just spring. The season before makes you feel different about it, and then spring ends in hotter weather, and fall ends in colder weather. So you usually think of fall as cold and spring as hot, but the small time where it's actually spring and actually fall, like the 2 weeks, at least in Idaho, they're technically the same. It's just what's around. It's context.
Yes, but usually sports start at the beginning and end in the other season.
It would end in summer, so yes, you'd be playing football.
Yeah, it would suck.
100-degree heat, but you know, some dude just had to have some bat soup. Doing everything.
Yay!
Literally everything. So yeah, Tenet got delayed, which sucks. This is kind of some cool big TV news. Fallout, the acclaimed gaming series, is getting a TV show from the creators.
Please don't ruin it. Please don't ruin it. Please don't.
Let me finish. Let me finish. Okay. Let me finish. Getting a TV show from the creators of Westworld at Amazon. So that's good. That's very good. Yes.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Westworld is considered like one of the best TV shows of like the past century.
They should have hired the Game of Thrones actors.
No. So Westworld
writers.
Okay. So Christopher Nolan, usually on all of his movies, his brother either writes it or helps him write it and produces it. And his brother is the guy who does Westworld.
Cool.
So very high caliber. So this is probably best case scenario for a Fallout show. Because obviously Westworld is very good. People behind Westworld are very good. It's him and there's another lady that he does it with. I don't remember her name. And I want to say it so I don't sound sexist. Something Joy is her name. Lisa Joy.
What a first name. Imagine your first name being something.
Lisa Joy. So they're behind Westworld. And then Amazon obviously has $1 bajillion.
Yeah, they're pumping so much money into the Lord of the Rings series, which I can't wait for.
Loader.
Dude, I can't wait for also The Boys season 2, the first season. So good.
Yeah, but so Fallout has always been, I've always been more interested in the lore than the games. So the
lore of it's so good.
Yeah, I'm actually really interested in this. And I think it'll be very good. I think it'll be really good. The only thing I don't want is for it to look like The Walking Dead, because that show is I know why it looks like this, but it's gross and ugly.
What do you mean by look like it?
It's like desaturated and everything's gray, which is what the Fallout games pretty much look like. There's some color. But
well, it depends. If you go Fallout 3 style, everything's green.
Yeah, I don't want that.
Everything has a green tint to it.
I don't want that.
I would be fine with
like obviously it's a wasteland. I get
everything being a little
but I don't
undersaturated. Well, it also depends on the timeline.
Yeah, I'm wondering if like each season's gonna be like each of the movies,
as long as it's not the 76 timeline. Wait, are there multiple timelines in Fallout?
No, well, just different.
No, but there's just
different periods.
Yeah, different periods.
Yeah.
Like
okay,
they should make it after Fallout 76.
Yeah,
all online. It's actually interactive.
Nah.
And the movie watchers determine what happens.
If the theme song isn't Big Iron, then what are you doing?
Big
Iron's only in one of the games, though.
If it's not Big Iron,
it's so good.
Then what are you doing?
Oh, I have some movie news actually.
with a big iron on his hip. What's your news?
Oh, Mission Impossible 7 and the Batman resumed production in the UK. So that's
Yeah,
some good
because
news.
the
at
UK
least.
lifted their like arts restrictions or something. Something along
Interessante.
those lines. Yes. Okay, so to wrap it up, video game news. We'll do this one first. So speaking of Nolan, because we've had a lot of Nolan news so far, Christopher Nolan's movies played and are playing in Fortnite for some reason. And Christopher Nolan is a big advocate for the theater experience, which is why Tenet, he will not let it not release in theaters. So I'm just wondering why he probably didn't have a say in this.
Money.
But Warner Bros. Decided to put it in. They decided to put it in Fortnite, and I saw a screenshot of it, and it's a really ultra wide screen, really thin, up in the sky. It's not even like level. Playing Nolan movies. So it's Inception, The Dark Knight, and I don't remember what the third one was. Might have been Interstellar. Or no, it was The Prestige. Fortnite is a game pretty much made for children. I want to say their main demographic is
point,
main demographic's gonna be like 10 to 16-year-olds. Spitballing. Nolan movies are, by the rating board, are considered inappropriate for half of that. So I don't know why they picked these movies to be played in Fortnite, but also it looks really bad and it sucks to watch them in Fortnite. I'm just really confused as to why they did this. Like,
money.
From Warner Brothers' perspective, obviously, yeah, they made a bunch of money off of it. But from Epic's perspective, why?
Because they have too much money.
But why go with that series?
Well, why not like put more money into game development? Why would they?
They already have.
They literally, you wouldn't believe how much money they have. They make more money than they can put into the game development. They make so much money, it's so stupid.
We'll make other games then. Like, I get
why
you want to
make
have
Fortnite is just it's like printing your own money.
It's dumb.
Money printer go brr.
It's dumb.
I agree, but it's genius.
I don't know if I would call it genius. It's more of.
I feel like they should have gone with a different movie series.
Yes.
Like
Harry Potter or something. Like something that would, or Star Wars. You already had a deal with Star Wars. Play Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's probably so expensive.
Or the Marvel movies. You had a deal with yeah, they'd probably be more.
Yeah, Captain America just came to Fortnite too. So.
Yeah, I saw that. So obviously,
I felt like that would be a perfect opportunity.
Yeah,
but it's not Chris Evans Captain America, so maybe that's why.
I mean, whatever. Yeah, it's weird. But then, in our last bit of news, Pokemon announced a new game, and years ago, when Parker was still living in sin and playing Dota constantly,
still play it constantly.
He tried to get me to play it. I said no. I played it once and I didn't like it.
Played it
but
one game.
I said
0-27.
I said I don't think it was that bad. I think I got
it was worse than that.
Some kills. But
I was being friendly.
No, I remember getting some kills. But I didn't die that often. But I said I wouldn't play a MOBA unless it was Pokemon. And by gone, wouldn't you know, the Pokemon company decided to make a MOBA. Yeah, the Pokemon company decided to make a MOBA. And it's cross-platform between Switch and mobile. It doesn't look bad. It doesn't look
bad.
Interesting enough to make me
barely a MOBA.
intrigued. Yeah, it's like a It's a mobile MOBA. That's what it is. It's for the Chinese market.
Yeah.
But it was interesting enough, the concept, to intrigue me to the point where I want to try it, which it's free. But they say
It's on
free
the
to
Switch?
start. Yeah, it's on
It's on
Switch.
Switch.
They say free to start, which I don't know what that means. Is it like cosmetics and stuff?
No, you'll probably have to buy certain Pokemon. It'll be like League, where you can play a certain amount of characters, and then
I thought League was free, and you only buy.
League is free. But there's the rotating pool of 6 champions you can use out of like the 200, unless you buy the champions.
Oh, that's dumb.
That's where they get their money.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
but
I think you can win them by playing certain game modes and like or an in-game
In-game credit.
cash. Yeah.
I
I don't think you have to spend money in it. But because it's a mobile game, it's guaranteed that you're gonna have to spend money for Pokemon.
Yeah, I was expecting like cosmetic stuff, but like if you can
I'm
get
sure
shiny
there will-
version of your Pokemon or
Yeah.
like Team Rocket
That's
version
sweet.
of your Pokemon or something like that.
Yeah, I bet there will be that, but I bet you'll also have to pay to use. I bet all the free ones are the ones they showed in the trailer, and those are the only free ones.
Well,
all I
Charizard would be
know.
a free one. So,
Yeah,
as long as his ultimate is Mega Charizard Y
you remember? Well,
and not X.
you can change. That was the part that interested me is, you can choose their abilities each time, so it won't be like the same 4 every single time you play. You get to choose,
Okay, yeah.
which interested me.
Yeah, I like the. I mean, I haven't really played MOBAs, but I like the concept of you start as the lowest level version of that Pokemon, and you have to get kills to evolve.
Do you
I
get
thought
kills
that
to
was
evolve,
really
or do you just have to collect wild Pokemon to evolve?
Yeah, well, that's essentially getting kills. Is
Yeah, but you're not.
collecting wild Pokemon.
I feel like there's not going to be a ton of PvP because
At least until you're evolved, I wouldn't think.
it's. So what I was comparing it to is if anyone has played Destiny, it's kind of like Gambit.
Oh, that's cool.
It's kind of like Gambit mixed with a MOBA.
Explain
It's like Gambit with
me,
PV.
because I haven't played it.
So in Gambit, there's you kill enemies, not real players. You kill
Creeps.
AI. Yes, sure, we can call them creeps.
It's the
But
only thing I remember.
Destiny isn't a MOBA.
Ads.
It's just we just kill whatever. Yeah, whatever. And they drop things called motes, and you collect them and you store them in the bank. First one to get 100 motes and then kill the boss wins. But every like 25 motes you put in, you can invade the other side and kill them. It'll be like that, but with being able to kill them all the time.
It's interesting.
So it's going to be mostly P, I think, with a little bit of PvP in it, which is a lot different.
You cut out when you said that, so you're like, it's gonna be mostly P with a little PvP.
Yeah. That's exactly little
Yeah.
P.
Little P. You know how it be. Little
Not
P.
big P, just a little P.
Yeah. We'll see though. I can't imagine it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a Chinese. It looks like it's
It
made
looks
for
fun.
kids.
I think I would have fun playing it. It looks simple
Yeah.
enough as a MOBA that I would be like, okay. I mean, not that like I can't grasp a MOBA, but
It's not gonna be
they just don't look fun to me.
a MOBA I dropped 4,000 hours into.
Yeah. But that's it for news. So, well, there's some big news, and the big news is me. Just kidding. I'm not that self-centered. But it was my birthday yesterday, so I got to pick what we're doing for the episode, which I normally do. But
Which you do
we're
anyway.
doing something. We're doing a movie that I really enjoy. My favorite movie. We're doing a retro review on my favorite
Not so
movie,
retro.
TRON Legacy. TRON Legacy came out in 2010. It was really kind of the start of Disney had like this big string of like blockbusters in like the 2010s. And this was kind of the big
Did
one.
it do good Theaters? I thought it did terrible.
It did okay in theaters. It made its money back internationally because it did really well in like the Asian markets. Because like Disneyland Shanghai has a TRON ride, and you only get rides if the movies did well in that region.
Oh, it did terrible opening weekend.
Yeah. I remember watching like they were hyping this movie up on Disney Channel, and I would see it all the time. They had so much marketing for it, and I guess a rule of thumb is the more marketing you see for a movie, the worse the movie is. But yeah, I remember seeing a bunch of stuff for it when it was coming out, and I really wanted to go see it. I didn't get to see it in theaters, which watching it again tonight, I was like, man, I really wish I did because I would have loved it. But I remember, yeah, the first time I watched it, I was like, I think the first time I watched it, I liked it, but I wasn't like blown away. And then I watched it again, and I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. So yeah, this movie is the movie that made me want to make movies. Because is literally like someone took everything that like the aesthetic and like all this cool stuff and like styles that I loved and that I would learn to love and smushed it together in a movie. And so it was basically like everything I loved. And it like, and I just have a very fond memories of this movie. I love a lot of the stuff about it, and I just have a very deep connection to this movie. And it was like magic watching it first time. So I was like, if someone could do that for me with the movie, then I want to do that for other people with movies. And that was my thought process behind wanting to make movies. So enough of the sappy, mushy stuff. Let's get into the good stuff. And
Sappy, mushy stuff. There we go.
I'll start off. So something that and it's not all going to be good stuff for me because obviously it's my favorite movie, but I know it has its flaws, and it hurts me that it has its flaws because it
has flaws.
It has so much potential. There's so much potential.
If it was made 10 years later, it would have been so much better.
Yeah, and so the guy let me finish.
Like the only thing.
Go ahead, Jeremy. Go ahead.
Well, it's just like the only thing that really holds it down is like some of the animations, like not like if you compare to stuff nowadays, it's not the greatest, but like the only thing that's bad kind of is Kurt Russell, but like you compare that. What's that one like video? What's
Bridges.
The one video game movie that came out?
Pixels.
The one. No, it was like the one where it's like they go into the video game. Yeah, it was like
Spy Kids 3D.
Wasn't that?
Ugh.
No, but like
wasn't that bad?
Compare it to like Ready Player One, like it's definitely worse, but I wouldn't say it's
Ready
like that
Player
far
One
off
is just
from
a big Blender animation. But just once to correct you real quick, it's not Kurt Russell, it's Jeff Bridges. He does look like Kurt Russell, but
he looks like Kurt Russell on his older self.
But so the guy that directed this, Joseph Kosinski, he's really only done 2 really big movies, and believe it or not, Tron was his first movie, like directing, ever. So
I remember the first one being good.
But
I haven't seen it since it first came out.
So his first movie was a $200 million budget blockbuster, sci-fi blockbuster.
Did the first one have a higher budget?
No, I'm just saying this guy who directed this movie, Joseph Kosinski, his first movie directing ever was Tron, which is had a $200 million budget. So I think for his first movie, he did pretty well.
Yeah.
The other movie he did that was big was Oblivion with Tom Cruise, which if you watch that movie, you could definitely tell it's the same guy that directed it.
Yeah, Oblivion's not good.
Yeah, I would say Oblivion has a lot of squandered potential also. Didn't really make a lot of sense. I don't remember if I was paying that much attention to it when I saw it, but yeah. It had a lot of potential. Yeah, it was kind of dumb. It had potential.
I just remember Oblivion being really dumb.
But yeah, let's talk about Tron. So right off the bat, holy crap. I think it's like maybe 55% of why this is my favorite movie is the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Because
Oh
it's
my gosh,
so
it's-
freaking good. This is the first movie
It
that
is.
Daft Punk, the dance techno pop duo, Daft Punk, this is the first movie that they did the cinematic score for, and they knocked it out of the freaking park. But so the opening sequence, it starts off with a bang. You're like, ooh, it just sets the mood. And like the opening narration where he's explaining like the grid and kind of what his dreams are and stuff. And then you see the Tron logo as it's flying through the buildings, and it plays the theme, the da 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 da, which is, in my opinion, one of the greatest cinematic themes of all time. And it's a shame that we'll never hear it again because it is actually so good. But yeah, just
why won't we hear it again?
Because
Not
Tron
another
3
Tron.
probably won't ever happen. Unless I make
I feel like they could.
Well,
I feel like they could easily remake the original.
we could talk. We'll talk about it at the end. But the Tron 3 was happening, and then it's not, and then might be blah blah. But yeah, so the opening sequence is fantastic because it gives you the theme, and it really sets the stage for like what the movie is gonna be about, and like gives you like kind of teases you of what it is. Yeah, I love that title sequence where you fly through the buildings and you see the logo and it plays the theme. It is so good. Okay, Parker, what's something you liked or disliked about Tron Legacy?
Okay, so one thing I did like that I noticed is all of the audio for everything, like the sound design.
It's very good.
Not just the music,
Oh,
Yeah,
but the sound design was actually really good.
it's exquisite.
And it's kind of saved some of the horrific CGI, made some of it believable.
Okay, I will say, I don't know, maybe it's love blinders, but I don't think the CG is that bad. There's some green screen you can tell. There's a couple shots where you can tell where Rinsler is a CG double, and obviously the de-aging, which we'll get to. But for the most part, I think the CG is pretty solid, considering most of this movie is CG.
I guess it's not that bad considering like they're in a video game,
And this is also like,
so it's supposed to not like look real,
yeah,
which
but at the
also
same time it
saves
does.
Like I'm not sitting there complaining about it
Yeah,
when I'm watching it. It's just like at a lot of points, it looks like they're like floating off the ground more than
yeah.
they are like attached to the world.
There's a couple of those, yeah. But yeah, like you said, the sound design, it's so, because like all the non-human characters have like a bit of like a techno filter on their voices because they're all computer programs, except for Korra. Spoilers for Tron Legacy from this point forward. Except for Korra, because obviously she's like, technically they're like techno humans, but yeah, like everyone has like that filter on them, and then like just the music has so many like computer tones and bits in it, and like I don't know, it's just cool. And like they throw in, so when Disc Wars starts, it plays the jingle from the original arcade game, and then when the light cycle grid starts, they play the jingle from the Tron arcade game, which I never noticed before watching it this time. I was like, oh my gosh, that's the thing that plays when you play the game. But yeah, the sound design is freaking so, and the sound that plays for de-resing when like, they like turn into bits, it's like they crack or they broke glass and then put like a electronic filter over it. It's chef's kiss. Yeah, sound design very good in Tron Legacy. What about you, Jeremy? What's something you liked or didn't like about Tron?
Well, like I feel like the sound of like it's funny, like you ever see those like pictures where it's like the horse where it's like the front of the horse is super nice, the middle is like decent, the end is like kind of crappy.
Yeah.
It's definitely anything that has to do with sound is like the best part of this movie.
Yeah.
And you can definitely tell, like, even the way like like a lot of times, like what they'll do with movies is like they'll plan out a scene and like they'll shoot it all, and then like the sound design comes first. But I somehow I get like the feeling that like they like thought about the sound design when planning out shots and all of this kind of stuff.
I will say that yes, they did do that, because I remember the year they announced it at Comic-Con, the director came and he recorded the crowd's reaction to the trailer, and that's all the crowd noises in Tron are from Comic-Con. So you know that they already had an idea of sound design before it ever started.
Like it's like nice, like the sound design, the songs, like the way like each characters and like it has like regression through the movie. Like everyone's like, oh, electronic music all kind of sounds the same, but it's like everything just has this like it's such like a huge depth to it. It's so good. Like,
that's a good way of saying it. There's a lot of depth in the sound design.
It is definitely the best. Like I don't want to say like I don't want to go as far as to say it's like the best soundtrack ever in any movie, because there are some very strong soundtracks, but like I can't think of very many are as good as this, and none as close that are like mainly electronic.
Yeah, and like, well, it's a good balance of electronic and like orchestrated music.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is a shame that this movie isn't very popular. It didn't do very well, because it's literally sitting on like I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say one of the best cinematic soundtracks ever. It's actually good, and it makes scenes have so much more impact than they would normally, which one of my points is all of the action sequences are phenomenal because of the music. Like the bar fight sequence, so the song's called Derezed, and it's like do 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 do. I could sing all of the songs from this movie, but when you watch the stunt choreography, it's honestly not that impressive. But the way that it's shot and cut, and the music make it like the hypest fight scene, like one of the hypest fight scenes I've ever seen. Like most fight scenes are kind of there for like to obviously build action and conflict and stakes, and kind of to like obviously to build tension. But the fight, like specifically the bar fight and the light cycle duel, they are so epic because the music behind them is like a 12 out of 10 on the hype scale. Like it's just so, and like the plane fight sequence at the end, oh my gosh, it's like cello and techno, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so cool.
Yeah, or even at like the very end, like right before like they go back.
Oh my gosh,
like, it's not. I wouldn't say it's not even hype, but it's so. Oh.
The theme when they're in the portal, when they're leaving, and the music swells really big. Oh my gosh, it's so good.
You could definitely tell. Like
gives me chills.
The director went to the editor, was like, "Hey, I want you to cut to the music. Like the music is like." Something that like they always had in mind, like planning shots, cutting, editing.
And I don't think there's like, because in most movies, like it's not music 100% of the time. There's obviously parts where it's just like dialogue or silence or whatever. But I honestly can't think of a time when there's not music playing in this movie. I think it's like a constant. There's
always like an idol.
Yeah, there's always like helps constant. Yeah, it does.
Oh yeah. It's kind of like a video game, whereas like video games have like
ambient music.
Yeah, it always tells you what you're supposed to feel, even when the dialogue does it. So that's something I'll bring up that is a problem with this movie. The dialogue is very shallow. It's like very surface level, and there's not a lot of dialogue, and it's really only there to move.
A lot to like.
Yeah, it's really only there.
They don't
to
let the
move the
audience.
plot. Yeah, it's either one-liners or plot, and there's not enough, like obviously, like you can have a movie with not a ton of dialogue, but there's not enough like world building or like, for lack of a better term, acting to kind of do that. It's very
Jeff
flat.
Bridges does all of it. Like,
yeah, Jeff
if you
Bridges,
think about it,
Jeff Bridges
world building,
and what's her face, Olivia Wilde, really are the only people kind of moving the story
and it's
along.
her talking about how Jeff Bridges' character taught her stuff.
Yeah.
It's not like...
Yeah, like Sam is mostly one-liners.
He's the one-liner.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got some good ones where
Yes.
he's like, why do I feel like I just got dunked on? I gave it a little chuckle
I think
at that one.
one of my favorite lines of his is when he's in the armory and they're cutting all his clothes off and he's like, hey, it's got a zipper. that he does have some good ones. But yeah, for the most part, yeah. And then like he's kind of let me see. I wrote it down. I'm gonna see what I wrote. He kind of has this like mysterious, nonchalant rebel vibe going on, but I don't know if he really sells it or if it works necessarily because again,
I don't think he sells
his
it.
character is just, he's a knucklehead, but he's like not over the top. And I don't know if it like, there's not enough depth behind it. Yeah, there's not enough depth behind it. So he just comes off as this wisecracking rebel guy.
Yeah, they all call him a kid, but it's like, oh, he's 27. I was like, oh, wait, what?
Yeah. But yeah. Something I do really like is because, so I just talked about this earlier, how I didn't like it in something else, but I think in this context, it works very well. When they're in the real world at the beginning, has a very like washed out film, desaturated look in the real world. And it really makes, every now and then you'll see a white light, like a white LED light, and it really pops. And that's because
it's kind of like preparing.
Yeah, it's preparing you for when they go into the grid, because it's all white LEDs. And I really like that about it because it's like
oranges.
Yeah, it's leading you towards this. And I'd be mad at myself if I forgot to mention this. So I love so the sequence at the beginning where he's riding his motorcycle and it's playing the theme is called Son of Flynn. It's, oh my gosh, this is a sequence that made me want to get, well, this and then the sequence at the end is what made me want to get a motorcycle. And I'm gonna get one, and it's gonna be that bike. It's the Ducati Super Sport Classic 1000 is the bike that he has in this movie, and I want it so bad. And every time I see the sequence and it plays that song, I'm like, oh, I need a bike so bad. The first thing I do when I get a bike is I'm gonna drive on a highway at night and I'm gonna listen to that song. But yeah, it's a great sequence. Parker, what's another thing that you liked or disliked about Tron?
I don't know. The color is good, but like honestly, this movie was kind of hard for me to watch because I hadn't seen the first one since it had first come out.
Well, the first one came out in the 80s, so.
Oh, was this okay? Well, I have seen the first one, but I haven't seen Tron Legacy since it first came out.
Yeah. I think I've only seen it like 4 times. No, maybe 5 or 6, but yeah. If you haven't seen the first one, like you don't have, because obviously I saw Legacy before I saw Tron, but you don't need to watch it. But it does just kind of connect the dots a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of confused at the beginning, and then
I haven't seen it in a while either, but so I was trying to like remember. Like,
yeah, I was I totally forgot there was like the original, like halfway through the movie. I was like, wait, why is this like almost throwaway character named Tron? The name of the movie is Tron.
And honestly,
I was like, oh wait, there's original.
He doesn't have he's not like a huge part of the first one. He is like a major role, but like he's still not the main character in the first one.
what happens in the first one? I don't know if I've ever watched.
Well, in the first one, so the dad Kevin Flynn is like an engineer at NCOM, and the CEO is like there's a like a virus that grew into like a sentient program in the NCOM servers that's like manipulating the CEO, like trying to get him to do stuff. So he's like, oh, I'll give you tons of money if you do these things or whatever. And so they're like doing that. And then Kevin Flynn accidentally gets sucked into the computer. And in the computer, he and his friend Alan have program versions of themselves. So Kevin Flynn's is Clue and Alan's is Tron. And so Clue gets destroyed like before he gets pulled into the computer. And so they just think that he's Clue. And so he teams up with Tron, who's like the hero in the computer, to take out, I think it's called the Master Program or something, which is the bad guy in the computer. So they go on like an adventure to take out the Master Program, which then exposes like the CEO. And that's the end. So after that, which is now in like legacy territory, so Kevin Flynn becomes the CEO, and then Alan becomes like the vice chairman or whatever. And then that's when so the grid gets destroyed in the first one. Then he makes a new grid, and then he brings Tron over from the old grid and then makes a new Clue. And that's where Legacy takes place.
Okay.
So they're not super connected, but yeah.
So
there's a lot of references to the old one.
So does Alan know about the grid?
I don't. Maybe the first one, but I don't know if he knows about the second one. I don't remember. I haven't seen the first one in a while, so I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. Let's see. Well, what about you, Jamie? What's another thing?
Like all the ships in like the city are really dope.
Yeah.
They're really simplistic. Like there wasn't like much design with it, but it fits like the aesthetic of like the world and just everything so well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it is literally like Cyberpunk 2077 meets neon lights, and it is amazing.
Yeah. So Tron, the aesthetic of Tron, obviously very heavily inspired by Blade Runner, and like the world. We see a very little of it, and I wish that we saw more of it, because the world of the grid I think is really cool, and really all we get to see is the games and the outlands. We don't really get to see a lot of like the actual city, which I wish we would have got some more world building, because it is really cool. And obviously I love Blade Runner. This is inspired by Blade Runner, but like the aesthetic of Tron is really cool. And like this kind of plays into, I think, it's like I said, this movie has a lot of potential. And I think the story of Clue and Flynn, and then like the Purge and the ISOs is really interesting. But it's just a 5-minute flashback sequence. And I wish we would have seen like maybe got a little bit more of it, and then seen more of like the city and the aftermath of it. How there's like guards in the streets, and like it's essentially like a lockdown, and there's a lot of like tones of like World War II and the SS hunting like the Jews and stuff, and like it's some pretty deep and pretty dark stuff, which that and sci-fi always go like hand in hand. And I wish we would have seen more of it, because it's really interesting, and even just more of the city, because I think, like I said, everything is really shallow. Everything's surface level. Like the visuals are really cool. The acting and the dialogue, it's just flat. Like if they would
it's
just
like George
explored,
Lucas.
Yeah. Well, I think George Lucas, like with the prequels and stuff, I think the substance is there. It's just executed poorly. With Tron, I think
they just didn't.
it's just pretty. There's nothing behind it. Like,
I can see that.
yeah, I think that's the problem, because it's
I guess we'll have to wait.
visually amazing. In terms of audio is like top tier. But like we don't get to explore a lot of the stuff that we see, and the acting is just very surface level. And so I just wish that there was more exploration. And this is a really long movie too. It's 2 hours long. I think if we spent less time on the games, because the games are like 25 minutes or like 30 minutes at the beginning, like it's a big chunk. I think if they spent less time on that, they put it in obviously for like nostalgia's sake and like the arcades, like, hey, like, remember Tron discs and light cycles? Like, it's very breakneck at the beginning. Like, they're just pushing all this stuff on you. And then it kind of really slows down, but it still doesn't have any time to explore anything more than a few minutes worth. And so I think as a kid, when I saw it, I was like, wow, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen and heard, because I didn't understand the nuance. But watching it now, I'm like, I still appreciate it for what it is, but there's just nothing behind the facade. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
I just have to mention like all the music in this that's so good. So like the Rinsler theme is fantastic when he fights him for the first time in the Disc Wars. The Outlands theme that plays when they're going to the Outlands and then when he's leaving in the bike, like just the cello. Oh, so good. The Adagio for Tron, which is my favorite song from this movie. It's the one that plays when he's explaining what happened to Clue and Tron. It's like just the single cello, and it's so like haunting. Oh, it's so good. The D-Rez song, which plays during the bar fight, obviously is really good. The theme that plays during the finale when they're leaving in the portal, it's just the main theme, but it's super cinematic, super epic. This giant swell at the finale, and then it just ends with like a few piano notes. Whew, so good. And then both of the end credits themes are great. Like, when are credits themes ever good? The only other time I can think of a credits theme that I really, really am like, okay, this is actually really good, is the one from Infinity War, where it's just the piano playing, because it's so haunting and it's like so depressing. But like this one is it's just a bop. Both of the credits themes are just super good. Yeah. Anything else, Jeremy, that you'd like to add?
Okay.
All right. Parker, any other things you'd like to say about Tron Legacy?
About the good or the bad?
Well, it's either.
Oh, I thought we were still on the good.
No.
Okay,
No, I don't have anything.
One thing. It's like at the end, like when it's Clue and like they're talking, and he's talking about how like I failed you, like is because I didn't know, like I didn't understand like what they're talking about, like because like when he explains what happened, is like he just says, "Oh, he just turned on me."
Yeah. So
they just didn't explain it at all.
So what it is so Kevin created Clue back in the day when he was searching for the perfect system, right? And like you see it it plays like the interviews at the beginning, or the news story at the beginning, where he's giving the speech. He's like, "In there is a new world. In there is our destiny." And then when towards the end, Clue gives the same speech essentially. It's like, "Out there is our victory. Out there is our destiny." So essentially, it's Clue was him at the time, like a perfect image of him at the time. And then obviously he's had like, because time works differently, so he's been there for 40 years instead of like 12 or 20 years or whatever it was. Which a fun detail is when he turns on the computer at the beginning, It says like 20 years, 11 days, 20 hours, which I thought was cool that it's like been running. But yeah, so essentially he's been in there all this time and he's had time to think about what went wrong. So essentially it's because he was so like hell-bent on searching for perfection at the time. That's what Clue was doing. And Clue decided that perfection is order. And so at the end when he's like, I did it. I did what you said. And he's like, I know you did what I said, but I didn't know what I was saying when I told you that. He's like, sorry, I failed you. I put these ideas in your head that aren't actually what I wanted or what we needed. And so that's kind of like what he's saying. Like, it's unknowable.
Why didn't they?
That's why I said it's very surface level. Like, you have to pick up on a lot of things because they don't explain anything.
But it's not even that they don't pick up on it.
No, I know.
Like,
yeah.
Because it's like in the
it's not that you didn't get it. It's that it's really vague.
No, but it's that, like, in the dialogue is, like, that's probably, like, where some of the best dialogue of, like, is when those two are interacting. He's like, we were supposed to do this together.
Yeah.
And then he's like, you betrayed me. But, like, and when he explains, Clue betrays him.
Yes.
Like, Clue is like...
yeah.
What's the question Clue asked him? Like, and then he's... Like...
At the end?
Cutscene, he's like... No, like,
in the flashback?
when then in the cutscene, like, right before he
betrays... he says, am I still to create the perfect system? And he's like, yeah. And so that's what it is like, okay, the perfect system is order. Complete order. So he's like, okay, I'm going to go full, for lack of a better example, I'm going to go full Hitler. And I'm going to militarize and create order. And that's where he's like, okay, red flag. And it's because essentially he just told him, hey, create the perfect system. And Clue, only being as much as Flynn was at the time, decided that the perfect system was order. And so he implemented that. And then Flynn's obviously like, no, you can't do that. That's bad. And it's my fault. And that's why Clue is like torn at the end. He doesn't kill him.
It's just, I just don't get, like, why Clue doesn't, like, even though there's order, he, like, has to have order without Flynn, even though he is Flynn. Is what I didn't really get. Is, like,
well, I think if he
wants this, like...
We can't kill him. Because I think that would kill him. Maybe? I don't know. But I don't think it's not that he can't do it without Flynn. I think it's Flynn. I think he decided that Flynn's way was wrong. And so... And he's a program, obviously, so he can't go outside of his programming. So he decided, okay, I'm going to do it the way that I think I'm going to do it. So
yeah, why couldn't they just explain this a little bit?
That's what I'm saying. Everything's very surface level and vague. Like, if this movie was maybe 30 minutes longer, I think
not even
they
30,
could have
like,
put...
Just add 15 minutes.
They could have...
It just give it a little better action and dialogue, and it's a very good movie.
Yeah, I think it... Like I said, there's a lot of potential. But, okay, so I have a lot of notes, so I'm just going to go through some of the little details that I really liked. Oh, okay. I have to mention this story. I think I've told you both. But, so, obviously, Tron Legacy, favorite movie. My favorite song is also in this movie. It's Separate Ways by Journey, and it plays when he's in the arcade. And there's an arcade in Idaho called Grinkers.
Oh, yeah.
It's like this 80s style arcade, bunch of different cabinets and stuff. Me and Jeremy and Parker and all my friends used to go there all the time. We loved it. First time I went, I think I was like 12. My sister took me. And I walk in, it's like playing 80s music. It's dark. There's arcade cabinets everywhere. I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. And I walk towards the middle, and all of a sudden the song changes to Separate Ways by Journey. It's going ding, ding, ding. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is my favorite song. And I just decided to turn my head to the right. And in the movie, he walks in, he's walking through the arcade, and he turns his head to the right. And at the end of the hall is the Tron cabinet. And so I'm standing in Grinkers. I turn my head to the right as Separate Ways is playing. And there's the Tron cabinet just sitting there. And I like flipped out. I was like, it's just like Tron, because I was essentially living that scene, and yeah, it's probably one of like my fondest memories ever, because it was just like perfect timing, and it was the coolest thing. And to this day, it's I probably peaked in that moment. But yeah.
Do you think Grinkers is open right now?
Probably not. You're touching and rubbing a bunch of things that other people have touched, so probably not. Also,
this movie makes you want to go to Grinkers so bad.
It's really stuffy in Grinkers. Like, there's not a lot of airflow. There's a lot of machines running. So probably
they should
not.
add some fans.
Yeah, but something else. So when he types into the computer, he asks, "Who am I?" and it responds Flynn. Ever since I got an iPhone when I was 11, and ever since then,
is that where that comes from?
My iPhone calls me Flynn.
Yeah.
And so whenever I ask, like, I'll do it right now. Hey Siri, who am I? Oh.
Sorry, I couldn't quite.
Who am I?
You're Nathaniel, but since we're friends, I get to call you Flynn.
She calls me Flynn. So whenever I say, who am I? She says, you're Flynn. Which is from that scene where he types it in the computer. He says, who am I? And it says Flynn. So I love the line where he says, what am I supposed to do? And she tells him to survive. I was like, ooh, that's so cryptic. It's so cool. And then later she's like, do you remember me? And he's like, yeah, you gave me some advice. And she's like, I see you took it. So I like that. Clue. I love Clue's like Darth Vader outfit during the Disc Wars, like his like cloak and stuff. And then he's in this following scene, he's essentially reverse Darth Vader. He's like, you're my father, and he's like, oh, about that. I'm not your father, but I am happy to see you. I thought it was funny that Clue writes his own speech. So when the guy introduces him, he's like, great words, sir, because Clue wrote the speech. He's like, was my execution good?
It wasn't for them.
It wasn't for them. Oh, something I liked is that Sam and Cora, so there's not a lot of chemistry there until more towards the end, but even still, there's not a whole lot. Like, there's like, they're dropping hints, but there's not a lot. But it doesn't end with like a random like romance. Like, it's just like the beginnings of one, which is kind of refreshing that it's not like, it wasn't forced, because I think it would feel disingenuous, but they don't do it. So I think that's actually kind of cool. Kind of like on Rogue One, where everyone's like, why didn't they kiss at the end? Well, it's like, well, that wasn't really established in the movie. So I thought that was cool. And what else I got in here? Rip Tron, okay? Because the whole movie, you're like, who's Rinsler? If you haven't seen it before, obviously. You're like, who's Rinsler? And then you find out that it's Tron. And then he turns good at the end, but then Clue kicks him into the ocean, and like you see his lights change colors. But that's it. Then he gets incinerated at the end of the movie. The grid gets blown up. So it's like, what was the point of the redemption? But yeah, that's cool. And also the second reason I want a bike. So the first was the first scene of him on the Ducati, and the second is the second scene of him on the Ducati, where he's got a hot goth girlfriend on the back of his bike, riding through the sunset or sunrise. That's the second reason I want a bike. But yeah, that's Tron Legacy.
That's about it.
Yeah, that's about. I think that's the most in depth I've ever gone on this movie. I've just kind of watched it a lot, know that I like it, but don't really never really took the time to think why it's not the best movie. But I think now I actually I've thought about it and kind of watched it for that. I obviously still really love this movie. But yeah, I would recommend it. Like, go watch it. It's good still. What it's good for, especially the visual style, sci-fi, and then the audio. great. And also, I love Jeff Bridges and I love Olivia Wilde.
Yeah, I was just thinking about it. Dude, the audio of this movie literally bumps it up 2 points for me because of how good it is.
It's very good. Also,
like, if you think about like if it had just an okay soundtrack, this movie's like a 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Like it's just not good, but this soundtrack just bumps.
A quick note: this was the first de-aging that Disney did, and it's so close. Like if you just,
it's pretty good for 2010.
Yeah, just like the top half of his face, great, looks good. It's just the mouth; they didn't quite get the muscles right, and his mouth just
makes it uncanny valley.
His mouth just slides.
But it doesn't look.
It's not terrible.
Fake.
It's not terrible.
It's wrong.
It's so close.
It's just like it doesn't. Yeah, it's like just enough because like in the first scene where like you see him as like when
he's young,
like when he's still before he's gone into the world. Yeah. Like I saw him, I was like, he just seems off. Like I can't tell why. I was like, what they do to him? And then like I realized later it's because what they did.
I remember when I first saw it, like de-aging wasn't a thing really. I remember when I saw it, I was like, wow. Is that Jeff Bridges? Like something looks off. And then obviously eventually I learned what it was. But yeah, it's so close. But it's really good for like Disney's first really like big try. Because like Jeff Bridges
if
is a
had the
big
technology
actor.
They had today.
Yeah. I think it would have just brought it up a little bit. But yeah, I think I've said all I really want to say about it. I guess I can kind of talk about, I said Tron 3 earlier, and so Tron 3 was gonna happen, but Brad Bird, if you know who that is, he directed like The Iron Giant, he did a lot of Pixar movies, he did Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, I think is the one he did. He also directed a movie called Tomorrowland, which flopped even bigger than Tron did. And so he did Tomorrowland, and really they were gonna do Tron 3 and give it to Brad Bird, but because Tomorrowland did so bad, they're like, yeah, we're not gonna give you Tron 3. And instead of giving it to someone else, they just scrapped it entirely.
No.
And then there was rumors for a while that James Gunn was gonna do Tron 3, and I was ecstatic. But that since has not happened, or maybe it's happening, who knows. But right now, Tron 3 is probably not going to happen, which I would have really liked to see what it would have been, because they kind of tease it at the beginning. The guy, like the stuck-up coding dude in the boardroom, Dillinger. So his dad was the bad guy in the first one. So he was supposed to be the villain in the third one. And I really would have liked to see because I think it would have gone. I don't know if they would have like maybe made a third grid and gone back into the grid, or if it would have been like more of like I don't know, like a real world based, like they're fighting about the ISOs and stuff. I think it would have taken a very different turn, or they could have gone, oh, let's make another grid and gone back in. And honestly, I would have been fine with both.
Or like one of the grids wasn't actually destroyed and it was just like on the brink of destruction.
Yeah, and like if maybe, you know, like one of Clue's programs survived and got out or something. I don't know, whatever it could have been. I just would have liked to see what would have happened next with the ISOs and stuff like that. But yeah, as it stands, Tron 3, not probably gonna happen, which
I feel
breaks my heart every day.
So well nowadays.
But yeah, my dream, if they did this, I would probably die. So if Denis Villeneuve, the guy, he did Arrival, Sicario, Blade Runner 2049, which is also one of my favorite movies. He's doing Dune. Like, he just has an eye and this perfect style for sci-fi. If they gave him Tron 3, oh my gosh, because he makes such good movies. Oh, I'd be in heaven. But yeah, that's enough about Tron. Let's give our scores. Jeremy, we'll start with you. What do you give Tron Legacy?
I don't know. For me, like, the stuff that was wrong with it wasn't like, I honestly just paid attention to the music so much that like I wasn't really focusing on the story just because the story wasn't good enough for like me to want to focus on it. Also, so like I want to give it like a 7.5, just because like the story kind of sucked because they didn't explain any of it, and once you think about it, you're like, oh, this is kind of awful. But it's just the music, and that's like all I think about is like the good things. I don't think about how bad the story is. I think of, oh my gosh, that music and that was so good.
Yeah. So what?
So 7.5.
7.5. All right, Parker.
Whoa.
Without the
What about you?
I'm gonna be honest. I don't like this movie.
You don't like it?
It was hard for me to finish. I'm not.
You don't like sci-fi, or not sci-fi, electronic music as much.
I don't dislike it though. The music was,
but
the music
only half of it is electronic.
Sound design. The music and the sound design are the only reason I was able to finish. I don't know. I think it would be fun if I watched it with Nathaniel because he would be enjoying it so much. And watching it with people that enjoyed it, but just watching it by myself, I think I give it a 5, honestly.
5.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's pretty fair. It got a 49 on Metacritic. It got a 51 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Perfect.
Yeah, honestly, like 6 is like a very good score.
Yeah.
So now that I think about it, I'd probably 7.5 is very generous.
I think I have to give it a 7 because I see the potential in it. But honestly, most of I don't know. I don't want to say it's only because of the audio and sound design. It's obviously probably the best part of the movie. But it's not the only reason I love it. I just love the visual and aesthetic of the movie. And the story. But
I also did watch on my phone, so some of the CGI for me, I couldn't really tell.
Yeah.
Just because I was watching on my phone. So if you did watch it on TV, a TV or something, it's probably I would give it. Do
you want to change your score?
Should I? Yeah, I'll give it a 6.5, but I don't think I can go lower than that just because of how much I enjoyed the soundtrack.
Yeah, I think
I'll
stick with a 7. Oof. But yeah, there's just so much. There's a lot good about it, but the stuff that it's lacking in, it's not enough for it to bring it down a lot. I don't know. Maybe it's just I like it so much. But yeah, a 7. I think a 7 is what I give it. And so our cumulative score of my favorite movie of all time would be 4.5 out of 10.
Wait,
what? No.
How did it be a 4.5? I gave it a 5.
Parker?
Yeah.
I gave it a 6.5.
Oh, hold on. I did the math wrong. Okay. So it's a 6. 6 out of... I think I put 3 instead of 5 when I did Parker's. So a 6 out of 10, which is average. So I thought it was good. Jeremy thought it was above average, and Parker thought it was bad.
Not bad, just slightly below.
It's not as bad as this Attack of the Clones.
I would hope it's not as bad as Attack of the Clones. No.
That's not as bad as Attack of the Clones. Oh.
Yeah, so Tron Legacy, Village Media score 6 out of 10. My favorite movie of all time. Definitely give it a watch. And speaking of giving things a watch, let's talk about what you've been doing, Jeremy. What have you been doing?
What have I been doing? Well, I've been playing a lot of Modern Warfare. There's the Crunchyroll has a show called what is it?
Call it what it is, Jeremy.
Tower of
Anime. Is it the Tower of God or something like that?
Tower of God, yeah. And I just finished it, and oh my gosh, that final episode was so good. I highly recommend that you both go watch it. It just finished the first season.
I remember hearing a lot about it. Oh my
gosh.
What is it called?
Tower of God.
The Tower of God.
It was a Korean
the
comic.
Final episode.
That got turned into an anime.
No, it's Japanese. Japanese.
I think
by Crunchyroll.
no, the original,
was it a Korean
the original
comic?
comic. I think it's called manhwa in Korea instead of manga. I think it's Korean, but it got turned into an anime.
And it is so good. Oh my gosh. Like, it's like the first like 10 episodes are like your typical anime, and then the final two, it just flipped on his head. And the final episode, it was
Maybe
like,
I'll check it out.
really good. Just maybe just because there's nothing else on for me that I thought it was so good, but I really enjoyed it.
Okay. Parker, what about you? What have you been doing?
I just got done camping
Mm-hmm.
for the 4th. Not a lot else. I've been trying to get a lot of stuff done since I was in my room for 2 weeks straight.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm staying really busy running a lot of errands and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been playing Lotro still, but I mean not a ton. Minecraft a lot since the 1.16 update. But that's about it.
Yeah, I know I want to hop on, but I don't think I'm going to have any time this week.
I also am almost done with my Isle of Armor Pokédex.
Oh, nice.
I'm like 170 out of 200 now.
Dope.
And most of them are just need to evolve stuff I've already caught.
Dope. Me. I haven't really played. Oh, I played some Smash. When Min Min came out, I was playing a little bit of Min Min, and she's really fun. I actually really like how you have to play her. It's very different. I think I talked about this in the last episode, but it's very different than like anything else you have to do. But I was playing with her online a little bit. I was actually doing duos online with Joel, and the connection was abysmal. But we went against this team. It was an Ike and a Min Min, and I was playing Min Min, and Joel was playing Kirby. And we were doing okay. We lost, but we're doing okay. And at the end, so Joel died. I had 1 life left, and I think the Min Min had 1, and the Ike had 2. But once Joel died, the Ike just stood at the end of the stage and let the 2 Min Mins fight it out, which was really it was really fun. Because it's essentially just the 2 of us like boxing from across the stage, and I clutched it. I beat the Min Min, and we're both pretty like novice with her, so we were like at the same level. So it was like very neck and neck, but I beat her, and I was like, heck yeah! And then I was like, all right, I'm gonna take this freaking Ike out. Like he's not gonna get anywhere near me. And then before I could, he kind of like jumped around a little bit to like avoid me, and before I could kill him, the Min Min took one of his stocks, so they both came back. And I was like, well, I'm dead. I lost. And we lost. But we did win a few matches online in duos. And then I was playing in some arenas and stuff. And I remember why I hate playing online, because I went against a Wi-Fi DK, and it was the worst thing. Almost as bad as when I got 6-0'd by Parker. But it was still really bad because... 1, I couldn't even react to the things that were happening because of the lag. So it was just like I didn't hit a button and this DK just destroyed me. And it was very infuriating. It reminded me why I hate playing online. But I did get some good matches in. Yeah, so I played a good amount of Smash this week. And then I started, just because there's like nothing else on and there's nothing coming out. I've just kind of been like scraping through Netflix, just looking for something to watch. And there's this new Netflix anime called BNA, which is kind of like this really chill, like slice of life shonen. It's about like a world where there's humans and then there's beastmen, which are essentially like human animal hybrids. They have like a human form and then a beast form. So like one of the main characters is like a wolf man. One of the main characters is she's a tanuki. She looks like a raccoon. But they can like turn back into human form and stuff. But it's about this girl. Oh, My roommate's phone is going off. Hold on. Or his iPad is going off. I just declined it. I know who it was that called him, but I hope he doesn't get mad at me that I declined it, or the person that called him didn't get mad. But yeah. So it's about this girl. So she's human. So you're either born a human or you're born a beastman. And she's human, and then she like becomes a beastman. She becomes a Tanuki beastman, and so she goes to. There's a city for the beastmen to live. So she goes there to kind of like try and figure out why she became a beastman. And it's shonen because, well, one, it's really cool that the main character in a shonen is a girl, but it's a shonen because there are like fights and stuff, and there's like conspiracy going on and stuff. But she's a shonen hero because she's like a special beastman, so she gets transforming abilities. So she's a Tanuki. Which, like Tom Nook, if you don't know what a Tanuki is, if you play Animal Crossing, he's a Tanuki. They're essentially raccoon dogs. They are real animals. They live in Japan. But Tanuki in Japanese folklore can like transform and stuff. So it's kind of like that. But like she can turn her legs into like cheetah legs and run really fast. Or she can like turn her arms into like gorilla arms and like punch stuff really hard or throw things really hard. And then she can like turn her arms into wings and fly and stuff. So she's like not a normal beastman, and then she like teams up with this wolf cop guy, and they like go through the city solving conspiracies and stuff or whatever, and trying to figure stuff out. It's really fun. It's really chill, really lighthearted, and very charming. So if you're not like a shonen anime kind of person, like you don't watch like Dragon Ball and like One Punch Man or whatever. This is like a nice kind of fun shonen, nice lighthearted anime. It's really good. So I've been watching that, and yeah, that's about it. And I don't even want to ask what are we looking forward to because there's nothing on the horizon. Everything's so far away. Oh, well, it's not really entertainment related, but I'm going paintballing for the first time in like 10 years this weekend. Which I am actually really excited for.
Sounds fun.
I think it will be fun. But for the sake of consistency, is there anything you're looking forward to?
You guys should get Golf with Friends so you can play that.
I have it.
You have it?
You do?
Someone gifted it to me like years ago. I think I have it though.
You should get it, Daniel, and then we can play it.
Oh no, I have Golf It.
Golf It?
I have that also. We should get one of them and play it.
I'm trying to think of.
Does it require decent internet?
Is it like?
Are you
is
able
it
to
turn
play
based
it
or
online?
is it like live?
As much as pretty much like any.
Is it turn based or is it like a free for all golfing where there's collision physics and it's just mayhem?
That'd be a fun game.
I think that's what Golf It is.
Oh.
I don't know though.
Well, I think that's the show. So, thank you so much for listening, especially if you came from me saying it was my birthday and you should come listen to the podcast for a birthday present to me. But thanks so much for listening. We hope you find time out of your busy schedule to come back and listen to us next week. But come on, we all know you've got nothing better to do. So if you're on YouTube, make sure to hit like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure to leave a review and tell a friend. And I'm gonna go knock on the sky and listen to the sound.